Hi, it's Faye and Jeff from earlytrauma.com. We've been covering our TDCs, the trauma disrupted competencies. We've had a couple here on developmental delays. It's like, boy, we make that video.
And we decided to go a little bit more detail on this one, but
Yeah, there's
that's
still more
fine.
to talk about.
So in the last video, we talked about the requirements that are that are placed really on a primary caregiver in order to be um, uh, available to work with a child on those developmental milestones in their lives. And basically, we were looking at them from the angle of being close to the child physically, proximity.
Hmm.
We were looking at being a secure base, something for the child to work out from, and a safe haven, something for the child to be able to come back to. And we mentioned in the previous video, these are gone into in a great deal more detail in Circle of Security, which is an outstanding program.
Yeah.
So today we thought we'd go into a little bit more detail about what's required or give us some techniques for a parent working with a traumatized child to be that safe haven, secure base, and nearby uh, attachment figure.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess we'll start with some of the behaviors that traumatized children show us as caregivers when we try to be close to them.
And it doesn't matter the age group a lot of times. I fostered toddlers all the way up to later elementary, and the behaviors are very similar. There's this discontent, this inability to play, to even contain themselves for any period of time without getting in trouble. You
Very,
know,
and it's jarring. It's jarring to a caregiver because you think that you
there's
have this
those
internal should.
shoulds.
You should be
Yeah.
content here. You should be having a good time, and they're not.
Yeah, the West Virginia term comes out of me of it's just like they're running amok. They're here, they're there, they're here, they're there, and there's no organization about them, no core. And I can't tell you how many times, as that mom in proximity, that secure base of literally picking the child up and helping them organize themselves, just being with me and regulating with my emotions. And it's
So when you say run amok, I'm always placed in mind of they're looking for something,
hmm.
and you've given them something to play with, and they're still looking for something else to play with. It's like for some reason that just doesn't cut it for them.
Well, too many people call it they just have a short attention span.
And
And
and that might not be what's going on.
no, that it's really the inability to settle down and to focus on something. And it's not something that I want to say, people will try to medicate away. This is something that we can do as foster and adoptive parents when we have these children in our homes.
We mentioned the in one of the previous videos with under developmental delay, that ability, the sequentially built ability to um, reach out, look, grass blocks,
Hmm.
knock blocks over, then start stacking blocks,
Right.
etc. So an example of this might be an older child who's now given a set of Legos,
Hmm.
and we look at them, and our assumption is they're going to be able to play with these,
Right.
but they're just unable to play. They have not developed this
Yeah.
ability to play. So one of the delay that we're looking at in particular today is the developmental delay of not being able to play.
Yeah.
And of course, you always get the typical oppositional and
Yes,
aggressive
you do.
behaviors.
You do. Or, I
Mhm.
mean, we're putting them in a place they're not
Yep.
comfortable. It's frightening to think about or being pushed into a place where I have to content myself with this activity or these few activities.
And always remember with developmental delays that one of the strange things about them is they don't always present
Mhm.
in the same way at the same time everywhere
Or with the same people.
or with the same people. So one day, depending on what's going on for the child, one day they might be able to play with Legos, next day they can't, and they don't understand why.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother video on window of tolerance, but I want to go back to the idea that we have to be intentional in helping our children learn to play, learn to regulate themselves, calm down inside, and then they can start working on the milestones, those stages that they should be navigating through for any kind of maturation. So that intentionality includes finding the time that your child can tolerate true play, not being in a room rummaging
Well,
around.
proximity
Proximity with
and
mom.
and play.
Yes.
Yep.
So you say, my kid can only maintain for 2 minutes. Well, 2 minutes it would be then. So you're going to set aside 2 minutes time
Oh,
spans.
are you
What's that?
telling me I'm supposed to play a 2-minute Uno game?
No, I'm thinking it's more of a 2 minute something else. It can be a 2 minute. I
All
mean,
right,
it could
that
be
didn't go the way
Lego.
I thought it should
you
go. I'm telling you, you should do a 2-minute Uno.
you
If
can
they
do
can
a two
only do a
minute
2-minute
play.
Uno game, then that's what you play. Yeah.
I was thinking about more physical things, some kind of building set or Play-Doh, those kind of activities you can take out and put back together.
You want to pick something that is enjoyable
Hmm.
for both you and the child,
Right.
and you want to do it for the period of time that both you and the child can enjoy it.
And I'm glad you said it that way because we want to stop the activity before they start to dysregulate, before they become discontent. We want them wanting more so that that activity is encoded as, oh, that was fun.
Mhm.
I then the next time you might be able to stretch it for three because you want that encoding going on of, oh, I had fun with you. Oh, that was
Now, we're
interesting.
not saying this is easy,
No.
okay? But we're just saying this is the way to do it. Multiple short interactions are
Right.
superior to one long interaction,
Excruciatingly
especially
painful.
when one or the other can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to the time, of course, there's also physical boundaries.
Yes. We are doing it in the dining room, in the family room. If it's a infant, toddler, up to 4, 5, 6 years old, literally put a blanket or those fleece throws are a dime a dozen these days. This is the area that we are playing in, and
Mhm.
it's very important for the younger infant toddlers to learn. You will be here on the blanket, and
Physical boundaries are learned.
yes, that will translate, generalize into when you go to the store and you're taking them out, they learned physical boundaries in that play. So,
Now, I'm going to say this again. It's very important that the activity that you're choosing is enjoyed by both you and the child.
mhm,
Otherwise, there's no consequence for them breaking that boundary.
right.
When they break a boundary, you have to be able to go, "Oh, I'm sorry, but it looks like the
Yeah,
behavior's telling me that's about the limit for right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
We'll come back and give this a try later because it
Hmm.
really sounds like fun. I'm looking forward to it."
Hmm.
And of course, in addition to physical boundaries, then there's active boundaries. How would you say
The
that?
behaviors that you will tolerate and you won't tolerate.
Yeah.
There's no hitting, there's no throwing toys, and unless toy throwing was your activity, which but you want to set
Mhm.
those boundaries and to I always use the term just no hurt. Just no hurt, move on. No hurt, move on. And instead of a giant lecture.
I in my work as a therapist, I've thrown ball with boys,
Hmm.
and one of the boundaries I've used is when they can't throw the ball to me anymore. And it's amazing because this is not a physical thing.
Hmm.
They can start off throwing the ball just fine within a couple feet of me. I catch it, they catch it, back and forth. But as their brains begin to dysregulate, suddenly the balls start to go way out over my head or way off to the
Yeah,
side. And what I got in the habit of doing is saying, "Oh, that's telling me, bud, that your
right.
hurt part's causing you a problem right now. We'll get back to this in a couple minutes."
Yeah, otherwise it looks like you're playing fetch.
Yep,
And
that's
you're the
exactly what it
fetching.
does. It actually that sort of thing makes the child feel comfortable because they feel
Yeah,
like they're more in control.
yeah,
But it's not that they want it. We don't want them to feel more in control. We want them to feel more secure,
right.
more
And
safe.
so with that, like with throwing the ball, it's one activity. Limit the toys. If it's a toddler, you are going to try to read where the child is and
Mhm.
what the play or the activity is more enticing to the child, but you're not going to have a blanket full of toys. There's a limit to it. And then you also want to change it up. It's like, so if your child can play for a minute or two, then as that time, you know, starts going
Expand.
away, you pull out a book that when you read to a younger child in particular, you get to set them on your lap. You've now increased that proximity. It's a little more intimate. And again, it's a short period of time where you want them close to you, and then you can set them over beside of you. You're desensitizing them to being close to you.
One of the interactions or schools of interactions that we use are and highly recommend are TheraPlay
Right.
interactions,
Right.
TheraPlay activities.
Yeah.
TheraPlay does a great job helping parents be in proximity
Hmm.
with the child and the child be in proximity with the parent and them enjoying
Yeah.
that experience together.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a given with a traumatized child,
No.
you
It
know.
it's hard, especially if you've decided that every day at 2 we're going to play for 5 minutes, or once in the morning, once in the afternoon. And if you've just had some big escalation, it's hard to shift your own brain to go
So
into play.
if you have a professional trained in TheraPlay that you can work with, or
Yeah.
you have some access to some books, we'd really recommend professional help with it.
Yeah.
But that's a good place to start with increasing proximity and the enjoyment of each other.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that we really encourage everyone to try as much as possible is just actually reading to their children.
Oh, very much so. And there's some very therapeutic books out there. I can't tell you how many times I've provided, like, there's a book, it's like, how does your how do you peel? It's about vegetables and emotions. Just fun books. They can get points across that you're not having to lecture on.
Mhm. I still remember one of my favorite golden books,
Yeah.
Wyatt Earp, the story of
Uh-huh.
Wyatt Earp. I had the golden book of Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
I think I remember the actor was on the front picture
Mm-hmm.
there. Um, and, the thing is, I enjoy Westerns to this day.
You
My
do.
children still talk to me about the books they loved when I read it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yes.
this activity can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents don't read well. I know I didn't read well when I was particularly stressed. I would,
Mm-hmm.
want to get through it, and of course,
Skipping
repetition can
words.
be, oh, that's downright painful when you have to do the same book over and over again. But it's an incredible developmental moment.
Right.
It's a way to develop safety in proximity.
Mm-hmm.
The child they can look at the picture, they can listen to the words, and they can ignore the fact that a little part of them is being irritated by sitting close to you on the thing.
Oh, what word just popped in my head was Dan Hughes's intersubjectivity. We
Mhm.
are creating intersubjectivity and intersubjective moments. So,
Now, even in book reading, there needs to be limits, right?
oh yeah,
I mean, with traumatized kids, many times we've had sitting there closely reading a story, and a kid will get up and go,
yeah.
and
Or hit my
yeah,
mom.
and hurt mom. That tells you that, well, looks like we have to stop this now, but
Hmm.
we'll try again later.
Yeah, and you do, and you want to go back to it. And then another thing that really works well, increasing that attachment, is just feeding the child little snacks. Of course, everybody's go-to is the little fish snacks kind of thing. Cowtails is another that we have used a lot. Little things that you feed to your child. You get eye contact, you get enjoyment, and we're not talking about carrots. Unfortunately, for some people, they would want to do that,
Yeah.
but we're talking attachment work here.
Fat, sugar, and salt. That opens up our vagus nerve, vagus system, polyvagal system. Um, the other thing with the snacks thing and the reading too, okay, because I can't say this enough.
Mhm.
Well, let's hone in on the snack thing
Okay.
for right now. Remember that the first experience of eating
Mm.
outside the womb is a communal experience.
Mhm.
It's designed to be together. The hardwiring exists in the brain to eat together.
Mhm.
With traumatized children, that hardwiring might be a source of fear.
Yeah.
It might be actually triggering their limbic system, but that's what we got to get around. We got to build the experiences of we can eat together. So snacks are an excellent tool for increasing proximity and safety.
Yeah. Uh, on that note, with trauma, there was negative experiences and emotional distress. We want to give them positive experiences with positive emotions. And so just if we knew in the child's history, they didn't have meals together, and meals together actually could have been dangerous. We give them new experiences. We may have to help them navigate that.
Absolutely.
That it will be hard to sit down
Married
and
to
have
difficulty and be
narrate that.
accepting of it.
Yeah.
I can't say this enough. This is hard work.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Okay, being this attachment figure for a traumatized child is hard work. It's very intentional. And the requirement of it is, the basic requirement is that we become their emotional container.
Yeah.
We have to remain regulated
Yes.
after they dysregulate.
Yes.
And regulated enough that we can label their dysregulation and go, oh, happily, oh, I'm sorry. That tells me we're going to need to move on, but you know what? You're going to keep getting better at this. We need to
Yeah.
project the positive.
Yeah, that and especially when a child starts to dysregulate, you want to be that safe haven that can provide comfort. You can narrate and say, "This is what I think is going on, and this is what you need now." We were playing too much together, so now I think it's time for you to, be over here for a few minutes, or sit in a rocking chair, or we'll go have lunch. That we make that transition very positive and a way to help the child regulate again. So.
Just real quick, while you were sitting there, this was off book. um, I was thinking of the value of a child who goes to kindergarten or
Mm-hmm.
first grade, and they've already heard their mom go, "Well, I guess this is telling me you can't handle this right now." How they will be able to use those words
Mm-hmm.
to figure out when they can play with a peer and when they
Right,
can't.
right.
When something's going on for them, how they would be able, and they just be able to handle the
Um,
stress of playing in groups.
what I hear in what you just said is their brain's going to start putting limits in place.
Yeah.
That this is okay, I can do this, but I can't do that. Or when I'm feeling like this, I can do this or I can't do that. So that there's a connection that their brains are connecting. This is what I'm doing, and this is what it means to other people, and this is what I need to do about it. That's so much more um, analytical thinking than where our kids usually are. So we want to push that piece to
Hey,
the end.
thanks for listening.
Thanks.
This is a deviation from our normal talk on development delays.
All right, thank you.